Okay, today begins our chapter on graphing functions and linear equations. And we're going to start off with the basics, but basically talking about how we can get those numbers to represent graphs. So, to refresh your memory, hopefully, the first thing we're going to talk about is that we plot everything on a rectangular coordinate system. I think you're familiar with this coordinate plane. You have the horizontal line being your x-axis, the vertical line being your y-axis, and that divides the plane into four parts, each one called a quadrant. And you always start on the positive, positive first quadrant, and it goes into counterclockwise. So first quadrant, second quadrant, third, and fourth. The point where the two axes meet is called your origin. And remember, as we go right and up, our numbers are positive, and as we go left and down, our numbers are negative. The other thing you need to remember is that we have ordered pairs. Okay, our ordered pairs in a general form are x comma y. It is an ordered pair because the order is important. The number that comes first tells us which direction to go left and right, and then the number that comes second tells us the direction to go up or down. So I'm going to do some examples. We're going to plot 4 points, and this is exactly what you have to do in your homework tonight, and I want to point that out to you. Okay, so I have put this on your homework sheet, but I went ahead and put the letters so that when you graph them all on that one coordinate system, you just have to write the letter next to the ordered pair like I'm fixing to do right now. So we have A is negative 2, 4. So you always start at 0. First number tells me left or right, so I'm going to go left 2 and then up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to put a dot and we're going to label that point A. So we're going to go to point B, and point B, again, you start at the origin. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right because it's positive, and then negative 2 means I'm going to go down 2. So that's going to be right here, and I'm going to put the letter B next to it. So that's what your homework is going to look like, is a bunch of letters on that one coordinate axis that I gave you. C, start at 0, 0. I'm going to go left 1, 2, 3, and I'm not going to go up or down any. So C is going to be right here on the axis. And D says start at 0, 0, but don't go left or right at all, but go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And that is point D. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is actually talk about how you can graph any equation no matter what it is. Okay, so if you ever forget what an equation is going to look like, you need to always remember that you can plot points. Okay, so I'm going to go through specifically the point plotting method so that you will know what you can do. We're going to graph the equation y equals 4 minus x squared. The directions say select integers for x starting negative 3 and ending with positive 3. So we start with our x value, okay? They got all the integers between negative 3 and 3 inclusive, so I've actually given you a chart that looks like that. And then I'm going to compute y for each number. So y is, oh, I didn't actually want to write that. Y is going to equal, I'm going to put in negative 3 for x. And when you do that, when you put a negative number, you always have to put parentheses around it, or when you put it in your calculator, you will get the wrong answer. So 4 minus negative 3 quantity squared is 4 minus 9, which equals negative 5. So the ordered pair that you have is negative 3, negative 5. Okay, so we'll go through each of those, and you can wait until I click them off. I put in negative 2. I'm putting in negative 2 into this equation for x, so 4 minus negative 2 squared, 4 minus 4 equals 0. So x is negative 2, y is 0. I'm going to put in negative 1. Again, plugging in for x, simplifying, and I get 3, so my ordered pair is negative 1, 3. So as we go through and we put them in, and when you get to the positives, you don't have to put parentheses around it because it doesn't matter, but the negatives you must. Put in positive 1, I'm going to get 3. My ordered pair for positive 2 is 2, 0. And my ordered pair for 3 is 3, negative 5. So what I'm going to do, and this will be like the one you have to do for homework. You're given an equation, tells you to select the integers, so you go plug them in. And so when we plug in negative 3 earlier, we got negative 5. When we plugged in 2, we got 0. When we plugged in negative 1, we got 3. 0, we got 4. 1, we had 3. And 2, we had 0. And 3, we had negative 5. So I'm going to go plot each of those points. Negative 3, 1, 2, 3, down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm plotting that point. At negative 2, I'm at 0. At negative 1, I'm at 1, 2, 3. 0, I'm at 4. 1, I'm at 3. Because each of these is your ordered pair, negative 3, comma 5, like I wrote on the page before. At positive 2, I'm at 0. And at uh, 1, 2, 3, I'm at negative 5. And then you want to do your best to connect those. I'm going to connect them with this. We'll see how that goes. It's obviously not a line, so you want to do your best to connect them in a curve. And don't be that way. I'll just fix it like this. Okay. And it won't fix, but that's supposed to have an arrow. Please make sure you put an arrow on each of yours because these do go on forever and ever. Okay, so the next thing that you have to do, use function notation. We need to talk about that before we go on to the next part because we're just covering half of this section. So what you need to know is if an equation in two variables, generally x and y, yields, meaning gives out, exactly one value of y for each value of x, then we say that y is a function of x. So the other things that I gave you for notes that you need to remember, okay, is to remember that this symbol, this is what the symbol for f of x, your function notation, but it is notation and it does not mean f times x. Okay, so you're not going to do anything like divide both sides by x. It is just notation. It describes the output for the function f when the input is x. So f of x is just another name for y. Okay, and I gave you some more examples down here um, so that you'd be familiar with that notation. So when you go down, okay, you're more familiar. Y equals 2.5 times x. That's the same thing if it says f of x equals 2.5x. If I ask you find y when x is 10, then it would be this in function notation. That says find what f of 10 means go put 10 wherever you see x. So 2.5 times 10 is 25. So f of 10 would equal 25, and when we write that, we're going to write f of 10 equals 25. Okay, so I'm going to do some examples of that, and then you'll be ready to go. First off, we got f of 6. So this is a, and I'm going to calculate f of 6 for f of x equals 4x plus 5. So my suggestion would be to write that, but instead of writing x, put parentheses. And whatever you had for parentheses, you're going to put that in. So 4 times 6 plus 5. 4 times 6 is 24 plus 5. So f of 6 equals 29. That's how you write your answer. Don't just give me 29. Tell me that f of 6 equals 29. Okay. B. B says find g of negative 5. Now, why do they have f, g, and h? Just different ways to name the functions. Okay, it helps us keep them straight. And that says 3 times something squared minus 10. And what am I going to put in there? Negative 5 All right, negative 5 squared is 25 times 3 is 75 minus 10. So g of negative 5 equals 65 because 75 minus 10 is 65. Okay, and the last one, C, says, hold on one second, I'll go back to, um, C says h of negative 4, all right, and wherever I have that variable, I'm going to put parentheses, plus 2. So that was my r squared minus 7r plus 2. And what did it tell me to put in for r? It says put negative 4 in there. And we simplify that. Negative 4 squared is 16. Negative and a negative give me a positive. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 2. So when we add those, I find out that h of negative 4 is equal to 46. Okay, so what I want you to do, because what I care most about when you do this is I want you to put an asterisk next to the first line, each of these lines, put an asterisk next to it, because that is the least amount of work that you must show me when you do these problems. If you want to skip this middle step and put it straight in your calculator like that, I'm fine with that. But put an asterisk next to each of those lines so that I know that you know what you must show me for work when you do these problems. And if you have any questions, please come see me.